how does that play into material well-being? Like what do people not understand about Korea?
한국 전쟁 이후 우리나라는 세계에서 가장 가난한 나라들 중 하나로 정말 힘든 시기를 보냈지만 급속도로 성장하여 세계 10위권의 경제 대국이 되었습니다. 1960년대 한국의 GDP는 필리핀, 말레이시아는 물론 아프리카의 여러 나라들보다 국민 소득이 한참 뒤처져 있었습니다. 하지만 급격한 성장으로 이제는 선진국 대열에 올라섰습니다. 이렇듯 유례없는 속도로 성장했기 때문에 다른 나라들의 큰 관심과 부러움을 사고 있습니다. 한국학 강의로 유명한 펜실베니아 주립대 샘 리처드 교수가 한국과 중국 그리고 미국과 멕시코의 경제 성장을 비교하며 학생들의 생각을 발표하는 시간을 마련합니다. 학생들이 어떤 생각들을 갖고 있는지 강의 내용을 한번 보시겠습니다.
These are the GDPs of these four countries. And 1965 and 2019. And you think 1965 in China was $69 billion US. This is all in US, right? And in 2019, about $14.2 trillion. Like look at the growth. Cheesy is amazing. Korea, by contrast, this is 1965, right after the war. Korea was a poor country, a really poor country, and $3.1 billion was the GDP in 1965, which was less than, I don't know, it was less than like Algeria, less than Ghana. Right, less than so many other countries. And look at right now, it's 1.5 trillion, which isn't a lot compared to China or the United States, but it's so much compared to where it was in 1965. I mean, the growth it's unprecedented in some ways in history. The US, 744 billion up to 21 trillion, obviously the largest economy in the world. And then look at Mexico. So it's right behind Korea, but it started at 22 billion versus 3.1. So when you have this, so what I want to ask the two of you, so let me ask the two of you, when you see this and look at like China, look at the growth between China and Korea and so on, what do you imagine, just what story do you tell about their lives? Like, what kind of story do you have? Like
I don't know them.
Yeah. Okay. No. But think about this. They're coming from countries like this. What's the story you have about these people, or these people who was a poor country, and suddenly now is just flooded with so much wealth, right?
For me, I think like technology and education.
Mm-hmm.
Like they definitely. I mean, to go from like that to like being so much more wealthier, I'd say like when I think of China, I think of like high technology, like they produce a lot of things, like and like a good education. Like everyone I met from there seems like highly educated, so I'd say that definitely has something to do with it.
Mm-hmm. And part of that is the people you meet, who are certainly coming over here are more educated. But yeah, how about let me ask the two of you, like tell me what's the story, Young Sung, right? What's the Korea story, right? Well, how does that play into material well-being? Like, what do people not understand about Korea, let's say? You said something about it earlier, but maybe just say more.
So, I believe students in this class haven't gone through any poverty in their childhood, or some of them may have, but most of us have their father's working capital,
Mm-hmm.
who is just medium or above medium,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And whose salary is medium or above medium. And my family, my father as well, has grown himself into those level, and I'm the result.
Mm-hmm. So he was able to go from nothing to something, and then you're the result of that. And how many people, how much do you talk about that in Korea? How much do Koreans talk about that? All this new sudden wealth and, advancement and so on. How much is that? How much do you talk about the past and where Korea was and now where it is?
We don't usually talk about our wars, but when we visit our grandfather, they told us about how they grew up in their childhood, how they've been through their life, that
So-
kind of things.
Yeah, so are you told about it a lot?
Yes, and that's kind of cultural thing that we embrace throughout our life.
So it's a cultural thing that you like really take that in. So seeing some kind of like in the U.S. So Danielle, like when I think about the U.S., it's like, well, when I was young, or go back a while, the U.S. has been the dominant economy in the world for a long time. So I don't even really think about it. But Korea went from one of the poorest countries in the world to now the 12th largest economy in the world. It's like this is a major shift in the way Koreans see things. I mean, it's like, my God, it has such a transformative power to it. Chuzi, how about you? Like, how is that?
Actually, there is a joke. It's just a joke. I'd like to share. I just see this before the class. It says the first generation of Chinese, normal labor. The second generation Chinese, maybe the restaurant owner, the restaurant manager. As the second generation Chinese, maybe the business or the engineering. And the fourth generations, politicians or artists. You can see it's always growing. And ordinary people in the Western world, I know probably this is not so good, but this is exactly I read from the Reddit. The first generation.
Well, then it's true.
The first
actually.
generation of Italian selling pizza, second selling pizza, third selling pizza, fourth selling pizza. Yeah, this is just a joke. It's just a joke.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
Americans will be selling McDonald's, but speaking Mandarin or Cantonese maybe. So
Yes, and from the chart of this, it's a micro from the country state, but from my personal perspective, there are a lot of people from the 0 to 1, from the 1 to the 100,000 million. Chinese really love to start their business, even just a normal small restaurant, because
But they don't want their kids to do it. Their kids want to do something else.
yes,
It's not uncommon here in the U.S., right? So maybe the two of you could say something about this. Even in Mexico, it's not uncommon here. Like I grew up in this country that was the number one economy in the world when I was a kid. All my life, it was the number one economy, and and the assumption is it will be the world's largest economy until China overtakes us, which China will, right? I mean, it's on track to be doing that pretty soon. But to understand what it would be to grow up in a world like these two guys right here, to grow up in a place where the economy wasn't the number one economy, it was actually really poor, and then in a matter of just a few decades just became this dominant global power, and you're living that. And it has such an impact on the way everything happens, the values and the mores and the way you think about life and the way all of your values, like what makes you happy and what should be, and it's disruptive because it has to be disruptive because it can't be otherwise. That's the nature of how I was actually going to have someone from the Arab Middle East, in particular somebody from Saudi Arabia up here as well, and then I decided we would do something else. But it's very similar to this kind of new wealth that we see in the Arab world.
유례 없이 빠른 경제 성장에 대해서 각국 학생들이 가지고 있던 생각들을 발표하던 시간이었습니다. 대학에서 미국 학생들에게 한국과 중국 등 빠르게 성장을 이룬 국가의 경험을 이야기해 줄 수 있었고, 외부의 시선에서 보기에 성장의 비결이 무엇인지 고민해 보는 것도 흥미로운 주제였습니다. 한국의 발전 경험이 발전이 필요한 다른 국가들에게 좋은 선례가 되기를 바라면서 오늘 준비한 소식 여기서 마치겠습니다. 바쁘시더라도 구독과 좋아요 부탁드립니다. 시청해주셔서 감사합니다.